Yeah. Okay, who's going to do the introductions? Benji, can you talk? Actually, I haven't heard you yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll do the introductions. This is the Drupal usability meeting. We aim to meet weekly, although it's been a while. We hope that the new time will work for more people going forward. On the meeting today are Ofer Shal, and let's see, I guess you are in charge of what? The Out of the Box initiative is your bailiwick?
Yeah, I'm busy with Drupal Rector and the Umami Out of the Box.
And we have Christina Chumilis, who's a designer and involved in the admin UI redesign. So the I'm blanking on it.
Don't worry, that's okay.
The Claro theme. And I am Benji Fisher, sort of more of a back-end developer, but with some interest in usability broadly speaking. And I'll help by creating the issue for this week's meeting. And Christina, up to you. I think you have something you want to discuss.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Okay. So, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, basically, I have the designs for.
What's your issue number?
Yeah. So, I have two issues. Those are for Claro, related to the redesigns for the fields. So the fields are already created, but then we have one issue to redesign the prefix and suffix, and another one to redesign the inline variations for each. The inline variations is the 3029675. Drupal.org, note this issue, and basically is adding a support for the inline variations and for the prefix and suffix. For fields, the issue is 2667340. So basically, the work started on the inline variations, but then when we realized that the label and the prefix were conflicting, we created the prefix one also, and here are the designs. So we can see, so the inline variations actually have the label on, well, if it's left to right is on the left, otherwise is on the right. And when we have a prefix, the problem that we were having is that the prefix was being confused with the label. So as a background, we created several proposals for the prefix where one could be inside the field itself, but it was confusing because it wasn't clear that it was actually a prefix. This was the one that we started to work on, and that's another variation. Well, that's actually the current design is a mix of these two ones that actually makes places the prefix inside the field, or at least that it looks kind of attached to the field. This is a solution that we had so far, but as you can see, if we just delete the star here, well, the asterisk here, it's not clear that this is another element. So let me see. Okay, it's here. So basically, we came up with a design where the prefix was somehow attached or included or work together with the field itself, but that it looked different. So here are some variations, and this is the version with the mobile version or something like that, because actually the prefix issue started because the problems that it was having is that, where is it? Oh, I don't think it's this one. Okay, there's another issue that was actually taking care of the visual. It's the same? Yeah. Okay, this is not the, anyway. So the problem that we were having is that it wasn't looking good on mobile, because it was taking a lot of hate if the prefix was really high, and it didn't make sense for it didn't look fine. So this is the solution for mobile, either the suffix or the prefix or the suffix. And yeah, that's more or less the design that we came up, and also for the small variations for the fields. So do you have any feedback or something that you see that won't work or you'd like to change?
Well, my first impression is that I really like it the way it is. I like having the dollar sign, for example, inside the text field rather than outside. I'm just trying to think of what could go wrong.
So imagine that here the problem is that you don't really have contrast between these two of them.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
So putting the light gray background on it is the current solution, right?
Exactly.
So it would look like that first example with the dollar sign, except it would have the grayed out background, and I think that's a great solution. I'm just trying to come up with reasons not to like it, because you have to try.
Yeah.
Is it accessible? I assume that you've thought about the color contrast.
Yes.
Do we have an indication other than visual?
What do you mean visual?
For screen reader, how does it indicate itself?
I really don't know on a markup level.
It's just markup before the input, so it's not going to. The screen reader is not going to, when someone focuses on the input, read the prefix unless someone puts a title attribute in. But that's how it is now. I just want to emphasize that's the current implementation. Is there's an input and then it's like, I think it's literally just markup. There's no div or span wrapped around a field prefix in core. It just kind of sits there as an inline piece of text.
Okay.
It might have a span class field prefix, but I'd have to look that up. I'm going to look right now and see how people are using field prefix in core.
And let's take this opportunity, this break, to mention we've had several people join the call. Thank you. Gabar Hotzi, hope I haven't mangled that pronunciation too badly, whose current major project, I think, is Drupal 9 readiness. Jacob Rockowitz was just speaking, who's the maintainer of the web form module for Drupal 8. Lauri Escola, you're one of the core committers, right? I don't know how else to describe your role, but thank you all for joining. So Jacob's looking up the current markup, but Christina, can you show us what the markup for this looks like?
I don't have any I don't have any plain Drupal installation right now. Everything that I have is work related, so it's either changed or customized. So
Okay.
not Claro right now.
I'm guessing that the markup includes some CSS class that's targeted and probably also some ARIA label to identify it as a prefix or suffix. So I'm guessing that it's already got better accessibility than what's currently in core.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to see if I can share my screen quickly because I have some stuff open, but does this let you? Oh, present now. Sorry, guys. And nothing to me is looking out of the ordinary, and there's a nuance in core, but I think this. So in the markup is, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a span field prefix. That's what I expected. It makes perfect sense. It's a span, minimal styling. It's inline, and then the children elements go in there. This, we're looking at a form element out of the classy theme. The description content comes before, so keep in mind in Claro, you guys can tweak this behavior a little bit and move the field prefix, like just to adjust this markup to make it work as expected. It probably needs to be like this with some extra markup around it. The only thing I saw in core that would throw things off, and this I think is a mistake in terms of in core, is someone put a div in the field prefix and the field suffix. The reason they did this was they're getting max dimensions and they wanted to have the width and height in line. And this div makes that possible. This isn't, I'm going to air quote, even though no one could see it, the right way to do this type of behavior. You're really supposed to nest the elements in a container and not use field prefix for it. This is the only instance I found. Like if I do a quick scan of core, what's being proposed makes sense. I mean, there's people using that one pattern, but otherwise, people are just putting little strings of text, which is exactly what we want. Where they're putting the word search on the search page, they're just putting a search path prefix in there, and that would look great in the current design. Same thing here. So I vote yes. We can expect there'll be a minor regression here and there, and someone will have to fix it.
Okay, so it won't affect accessibility, I guess. So
I don't think there's. I think that's a separate ticket to review the accessibility of field prefixes, but it's not something that's come up in the past in core.
Okay.
And keep in mind, like in core, like the $, you wouldn't want any accessibility. Someone entered a field that's called currency. They don't need to see the $. Telling someone there's a $, doesn't matter. For the field UI, that field underscore, the accessibility is totally different. It's got to be handled in a new ticket, where if someone feels that's an issue, there'd have to be a descriptive title on the input that says, this field will be automatically prefixed with field underscore. So I don't think it affects the design. I think we're getting into a whole separate issue.
Okay. Okay, then I guess that's all on the traffic side. Then I have another issue, which is not an issue itself. It's more like a plan that we've briefly discussed, but we wanted to discuss with the rest of the people interested on UX. Basically, it's also related to Claro. Let me check where I have something. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again. So basically, there is an issue. The issue is 3076820, and it's about the layout redesign for the admin UI. It's probably something really big to actually be a Claro thing. So it's not a thing that should be only on Claro. If we see the Claro roadmap, it's not on the must-have. It's not a stable blocker because it actually takes a lot of things into account. It's a huge change on the design, so it's not a redesign of 7, which probably is more the scope for Claro. So basically, the layout redesign, what aims is to have more updated designs of a page or a form page or whatever. For example, we can see here several variations that Sasha did here, where the sidebar is on the right, and it's not like a classic node page where the sidebar is inside the node content page, but it's a sidebar region. And the discussion actually includes, is this a region that we should make available for all pages, not only on node pages. Also, the toolbar should be on the top or on the left. Should we have the action buttons on the top? Something else that, well, also having the toolbar being able to be open. Also having the toolbar on the side. No, sorry, that's the right one. I don't know where we actually made all the... Laura, do you remember where we did all the testing? Here. So something that also comes from the right is the settings tray right now. And if we make this right region available to all the pages, then we can also have this settings tray, whatever is its purpose, because maybe in the future we use it for other purposes. So maybe they just conflict, and then imagine that we have this left toolbar, also a top bar for maybe actions or whatever we want to do. We have the right sidebar. We also have the settings tray. So as you can see, this actually involves a really long discussion that needs testing, needs ideas, and so on. So basically, we are kind of thinking about having an online workshop or an online sprint, design sprint, or ideas sprint, or something like that. Something that will be like several hours. So we actually is me, Laurie, and probably Roy. And I would like to invite any of you that wants to participate, because we need people that has in mind several interfaces that are not the typical ones, like just for example, the node page or the content page, and the only other interface, UI design that we have is these 2 columns. Apart from that, we really don't have anything on core by default. So we have other things like the, which is the one that you can actually publish from one side to another. Workbench? No. I just don't remember. Anyway, we have several things, several UIs that might need to come together. So if any of you is interested, we can just create a group and find a day to start brainstorming about that and see what we can with which wireframes or sketch we can create and try to solve and have this discussion with a longer time. So that's all. Not sure if any of you is interested or know anybody that might be interested.
I have time to help with the system tray, the slide out on the right-hand side. I use that a lot in web forms, and I had to, just to step back from that, the design of that system tray is meant to be a full CSS reset where it's just black. It has its own CSS. And in web form, I had to strip that out because I really felt like it's better when that system, when you're in the admin UI, that system tray should look like the admin UI and not its own separate design system. So I stripped it. Yeah. I don't know if you're going in that direction. That's, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead. Finish whatever you had to say.
That's it. That's the direction I went in. I found it really usable for a user experience. It's a lot better than modal dialogues for giving people extra information. Works better on desktop and mobile.
Yeah. I agree. Also, basically, actually, I think you is one of the people that will be really interesting that could join, because actually Webform is one of the more complex UIs that you can actually have. And you can actually create UIs by yourself that are complex, like forms with several steps and so on. So your background on that sense will actually be really useful. And on the dark UI side, that's interesting that you say that, because we had actually this discussion last week, because we are kind of working also on the tour component that actually is bringing up several color discussions and discussions about how the UI needs to be on a dark palette. And then obviously using when to use the dark mode or the dark palette and when not, because for example, we also have the messages component that is using black so far. So we still have the black at some point. So that's the thing. We still need to think about that. But obviously, that's something that we need to discuss. And it's up to discussing. So that could be great, your feedback there. And also, ideally, plan some testing on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely help out with forms in the sidebar. And Webform has a style guide. So like if you install the examples module, if you switch to the Claro theme, you'll see every single form component that's coming from Webform, mostly from core, by the way. It's not like I'm going off too far in any direction. And just to be clear, Claro was great. I mean, I'm using it locally, so I'm developing everything looking at the Claro theme, and it looks really good. There's like little minor nuances that gradually are getting fixed as you guys are progressing with it. So I don't see any huge red flags. I personally, I'd like to get the system tray working better in the admin UI and come up with a better pattern. The reset, just to emphasize to everyone, the problem with the reset is if you have any custom external components that rely on CSS, they fall apart because the CSS reset has stripped out all that markup. It would be like if you're using a select to widget or a chosen widget or anything in that right-hand sidebar, it falls apart. I think people have seen it when adding blocks sometimes.
No.
So that's it for me.
It's great to hear that you've experimented with that, and I'll definitely take a look at what you've done, because I think it's giving a idea of how people are using it in the contrib space.
Yeah, and there is one, so I have I have a couple of CSS files to tweak themes for Webform specific stuff, and it's not a lot going on in the Claro thing. And a lot of it was just when you guys were in beta, I was trying to fix some things, ridiculously minor. So if you do a search for Claro when you're in Webform, you'll find the CSS file. I think it lines up with a lot of the issues I saw that are being gradually resolved.
Yeah, I will take a look at that as well, because there might be something else that is useful for us too.
Yeah, and don't hesitate to ping me privately on Slack if you need some, like, why are you doing this? I don't mind looking at the history of the file and figuring out why.
Thanks, sounds great.
Cool.
Great. Okay, so that was all that I had for today. So not sure if anybody else has anything else.
I do not have any other issues to discuss.
Okay, then thank you everybody for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And thank
Cool.
you, Ofer, for recording the meeting.
Thank you. As soon as I find the link, I'll share it.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.